There's a story about a city dweller who was visiting relatives on a farm, and the farmer gave a whistle, and his dog herded the cattle into the corral. Then the dog latched the gate with her paw. "Wow, that's some dog. What's her name?" the city dweller asked. The forgetful farmer thought a minute and then asked, "What do you call that red flower that smells good and has thorns on the stem?" "A rose?" "That's it." The farmer turned to his wife. "Hey, Rose, what do we call this dog?" If a person is forgetful, it's not often equated with them possessing wisdom, is it? Wisdom is typically thought of the main ingredient to creating a life of legacy. But today we're going to see that wisdom is not about where you're going or even where you want to go. It's about what you are willing to forget and leave behind. Proverbs 6, verses 6 through 8 tells us where to look for solutions here. And it says, "Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter." The Bible says that there are some little creatures that we can learn from, and though they are very little, they are very wise. Now, when a fool calls someone wise, we're not moved, because when a fool calls someone wise, well, a fool is easily impressed. I've heard a lot of people call other people smart that I didn't think were smart. But when God says you're wise, can you imagine all the sages and wise men and scholars and theologians waiting around when God opens his mouth and says, "I'm going to show you what is really wise." And he walks past each and every one of them and says, "I want you to learn your wisdom from some very little things that are seen as an annoyance, little insects that ruin your picnics." If you want to be wise, God says, "I'm going to give you a message through these little things." Don't underestimate them because they are little. Because great things come in small packages. And if you can harness the wisdom of these small creatures, it will launch the rest of your life. He walked past the elephants and the giraffes, overlooked the rhino and hippopotamus, moved past the horse and the deer, stepped over the dogs and cats, and ducked beneath the flying eagles and pelicans until he focused his vision on the ground. He came all the way down to a sandy hill with a little hole in the top. And there he pointed at an ant. And he said, "If you can garner the wisdom of this ant, watch the ant." And he points at the ant who is preparing food for the winter. And he's doing it during the summer. It is in the summer when the grass is green and the harvest is plentiful and everything is blooming and there is a wide selection of fruit to be had. It is during that season that the ant ignores where he is because he is filled with a mindset for where he is going. And so he does something that seems foolish at the time that he's doing it. But he does it because he has in his mind a place that he's going. And this ant, if he were here to speak to you today, his message would be, point number one, prepare yourself. I'm confident that there's somebody watching today who needs to increase in wisdom right now by preparing yourself. God said, listen to the wisdom of the ant. Prepare yourself. It was summer, but the ant was preparing for winter. Well, let's take this action apart. The Bible not only tells us what he does, but when he does it. The ant totally disregards what has happened in his past. He's not dealing with the issues of his past. He's come to a point of closure about yesterday. He's not rehearsing the same troubles of his past, repeating the same mistakes over and over again. He has closed that chapter in his life. It is a blessing in your life when you can dismiss the past and say, that is over. Many of us are foolish because we're 30 years old, still crying about something that happened when we were 13. We're 40 and still worried about the person who left us at 30. We're 50 years old and we're still whining about mistakes that we made when we were 20. But we'll never be wise when we're working backwards. Watch that ant. He's not working backwards. The other thing that is amazing about him, not only does he disregard his past, he ignores his present. You don't see the ant try to glutton up all the food that he can while he can and fatten himself up as if there's no tomorrow. The ant has the ability to have delayed gratification. He's willing to wait. You cannot prepare yourself if you do not have the patience to wait. If you can't wait, you're going to mess yourself up from what God has for you. The ant has a strategy. His whole philosophy is to get ready for what is about to happen in his life. Look at the ant. The ant ignores the summer and he prepares for the winter. He's taking the food of his summer and moving it toward his winter. He has enough faith to believe that he will be there in the winter. He's not intimidated by any of his enemies in the summer. He has adversities, but he does not believe that any of his natural predators will be able to stop him from getting to the next level. He so disregards his enemies and is busy working on where he's going that he doesn't have time to worry about where he is. Now, I hope you understand the deeper application of what I'm trying to say to you today. The word prepare has a prefix, pre, which means to do something ahead of time. The word pare is like the paring knife that Mom used to peel and cut the fruit to make it ready for its intended purpose. To prepare means to get it ready in advance. I want to talk to somebody today because if you're going to obey the wisdom of the ant, you got to be willing to look like a fool. You've got to be busy getting ready for something that you don't need right now. You've got to be out of step with your situation right now, but in step with your destiny so that you are reacting to something that hasn't happened yet rather than responding to something that's going on right now. Godly people do not react. To allow the enemy to make the first move means that he's in charge. The enemy has never made a move that God reacted to. God acts. It is the enemy who's trying to catch up to what he's doing. The ant doesn't go out and grab a crumb that he can't handle. The ant will get a piece of bread that's 3 times bigger than he is. It'll be so big that he's got to drag it in to get it where he's trying to go. Anyone else would have let it go. But he says, I just can't let it go. Some of you are like the ant. You've got a hold of something and you can hardly carry it, but your vision is bigger than you are. You don't have enough resources, you don't have enough help, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough experience, but you're going to drag it in. It is to you that I say today, don't give up or give in. God has implanted great wisdom in you. Take a lesson from the ants, learn from their ways, and be wise.